already know this, you might not, but I'm here to tell you, sometimes your therapy clients think you're a little weird. They think I'm weird because the very boundaries and ethical practices that make us good therapists and good at what we do come across as strange, confusing, or even a little hurtful to our clients. We might not be aware of that happening though. But here's the thing, we also have the power to address these potential misunderstandings proactively and turn them into opportunities for connection, for growth, and even stronger and more trusting relationships between ourselves and our clients. And on today's episode of Love, Happiness, and Success for Therapists, I'm going to be dropping some pro tips that'll help you understand the moments that might make your client say, huh? And how you can manage those successfully so that they don't create ruptures in your therapeutic relationship. If this is your first time with me, I'm Dr. Lisa Marie Bobby. I'm also a therapist, a licensed marriage and family therapist, a licensed psychologist, a proud board-certified coach. I'm also an AAMFT-approved clinical supervisor and the founder of Growing Self Counseling and Coaching. It has been the privilege of my life to be a partner in growth to therapists who are developing because we are doing challenging work. We have chosen courageous, shall we say, career paths. And I'm a firm believer that we need to support each other and that there's no greater investment than in helping helpers. So that's why I launched Love, Happiness, and Success for Therapists and why I'm here with you today. I wanted to address this topic in particular of things that therapists do that can seem kind of weird to civilians because I have seen this cause problems and actually rupture relationships. So today you're going to be learning about some of the common culprits that you need to be mindful of, as well as the practices that you can incorporate to prevent this from happening to you. Straight off the bat, for example, have you ever had a client friend you or try to friend you on social media? And of course, you didn't accept that friend request to your personal social media account, but things seemed a little off the next time you saw them in a session. Or maybe you bumped into a client out in public at a shopping center or a restaurant. You looked at them, they looked at you. Of course, you're not going to initiate a hello, how you doing? How's it going with that situation you told me about with your dad? You're not going to do that. But they might have given you a funny look and it just felt kind of weird after that. These are the kinds of moments that happen to therapists all the time that can feel uncomfortable for your clients and maybe a little uncomfortable for you too. And if they're not addressed properly, they can lead to your clients feeling confused, rejected, hurt, unless they know why. So let's talk about some of the best practices that you can employ starting today that will take the energy out of this and make things feel safer emotionally, both for clients, but also for you too. First and foremost, rule number one, when it comes to any of the stuff we'll be going into today, is to be proactive and very transparent about explaining your boundaries and to make sure that you're doing this explicitly, like more explicitly than maybe you think you need to be doing. Particularly at the beginning of therapy, take a few minutes to talk super openly about some of the weird things therapists do and why, aka our boundaries, why they exist, and how they help create a safe, effective space for your clients. And frame this as part of your commitment to their well-being because it truly is. Another thing that we need to be thinking about is the fact that as therapists, we do not proactively reach out to people because we are taught to respect the client's autonomy. And the default assumption is that if somebody wants to talk to me, they will reach out to me. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this. If you are afraid for your client's life, you might reach out proactively, or certainly to schedule a next session, are we going to do this or not? You would need to reach out proactively there. But something that clients can find really confusing patronizing or even hurtful is our stance on not doing those check-ins in between sessions after a client may have unloaded or dropped something pretty heavy in a session. So now, when we think back to the way we operate personally, like as a friend or as a family member, I mean, I don't know about you, but if I know that one of my personal friends is going through something really hard and tells me about that, I will always, check in a day or two later, like, hey, I've been thinking about you. How are things going? Like that's what we do, right? And I think that even subconsciously, sometimes our clients may be expecting that kind of emotional caretaking, like friendship type behaviors from us. And when we don't do that, because that's sort of spilling over into, therapists don't do that kind of boundaries, the message or the hurt that clients can experience is like, why isn't my therapist checking on me? I just told them about something that was really hard. Don't they care about me? Like, why am I just one of a zillion people? Do they not actually care? And so we need to be thinking about this and proactively talking about it so that we can avoid this potential misunderstanding early on by explaining the importance of client autonomy and how that works with therapy and with coaching. So saying things like, part of our work together is me helping you develop and practice skills that will help you navigate challenges on your own. And I also respect your boundaries. I will never assume that you want to talk to me. I will not pop into your life in an unexpected way. And I am always available for you. So I'm not going to be reaching out to you between sessions because I trust your ability to handle things. And I also trust you to tell me if you need more support. You're always welcome to contact me or schedule an additional session saying, thank you so much for sharing this with me today. Please know that I will be thinking of you between now and next week. And if you would like some additional support, after we've been stirring this pot, I am right here. I won't reach out to you. I'm going to respect your autonomy, but get in touch anytime. I am here for you. And so to be saying this, it reassures your clients that, the radio silence from you is not indifference, but rather a sign of respect for their independence, their self-reliance, and your trust in their good judgment about whether or not they need you, because they might not. Yet another thing that we therapists do on the reg that most people don't do is the holding of long, awkward pauses. You know what I'm talking about. You do it. And this, as we know, is a foundational counseling skill of making space so that other people, our clients, can step into the ring, have more time and space to connect with their feelings, formulate their thoughts. We just don't jump in and start talking. Do your clients know that? I, over the years, have made a habit of both with counseling and coaching clients to say right at the very beginning, so part of what it is that I do is help you get into contact with you. And there are a number of different tools that I have to help you do that. We'll do assessments. I'll be asking a lot of open-ended questions. You feel free to set boundaries with me if you do not want to answer those questions. But you'll also notice me creating a lot of space for you. So there might be pauses in our conversation. That's totally part of this process. Nothing is wrong. Dual relationships and what that really means and what those boundaries really look like in practice. That is also an area that can be confusing and sort of odd to our clients unless we're talking about it explicitly. And it is also something that, regularly I need to set boundaries and limits around. And so I know in counseling school, particularly if you are a marriage and family therapist, it was drilled into us that we cannot have any dual relationships with clients, meaning that if you're somebody's individual therapist, you cannot also serve as their couples counselor or as their family therapist. or as their sister's therapist. And you can also absolutely not develop any kind of personal relationships or professional relationships with. I mean, there are very, very clear boundaries around I am your therapist or I am your coach, and that's what this means. And anything that isn't that is not something that I can do with you. And so, you have to navigate this. You have to say no and also explain why so that they understand. I have to preserve the integrity of our relationship, make sure they understand why transparently. Now, best practices for many therapists is to actually go into this as you are discussing the information in your disclosure statement and provide real world examples of what this looks like, what those boundaries are, and the things that they could expect you to say no to. Certainly, we're required by law to talk about certain aspects of dual relationships, like we can't be your friend and we cannot have a romantic relationship with you or a sexual relationship with you. But there can also be some gray areas of dual relationships that may not be obvious to clients, but that are actually more likely to happen and that we need to be talking about openly, lest we ruffle some feathers when we say no to things that our clients might be hoping we're going to say yes to. Yet another thing that you know and I know is that we cannot give direct advice to our clients, and we shouldn't. Our clients should never substitute our opinions or our judgment for their own, and that the goal of therapy and ethical coaching, for that matter, is to really be working actively with our clients to empower them to be finding their solutions that will help them learn, grow, and move forward. But our clients don't know that. One of the things that can really throw clients off and actually frustrate them is when we are not participating in giving direct advice or offering ideas or solutions, because a lot of them come into, especially therapy, expecting us to be the expert who tells them what to do. I think the mental concept is, I'm going to tell you all the context, here are the players, here are the things, and then you are going to be like the decision maker. You're going to tell me what to do, and then I'll know, and then I'll move forward. They don't know that we don't do that. So, because our role, obviously, is never to dictate anyone's choices. It is to help people explore their options, understand themselves, and then make contact with their values so that they can make appropriate decisions for themselves. And so, especially if you are just simply operating as a therapist, a traditional, insight-oriented, non-directive therapist, perhaps with a clinical mental health background, or perhaps that client-centered, sort of slow relational work, you need to be talking about how that process works and setting expectations from the outset. And also, I believe that there is an ethical consent piece to this, because your therapy clients, especially if they are not dealing with a clinical mental health diagnosis, or if they are coming to therapy for the purpose of growing and creating actual changes in their lives and skills development, the insight-oriented talk therapy, client-centered, non-directive thing is probably not going to be the right approach for them. And so at the very outset of therapy, for you to be talking about your style, your approach, I'm not going to give you advice. We're just going to unpack things. I'm not going to direct this conversation. You tell me what you want to talk about. It might change day to day. I'm here to follow you and see if that is what they want. And some people might be like, yes, you know what? They've just lost a family member. They are grieving, and that is exactly what they need. But if you are connecting with a client or a prospective client who's like, I don't know, I was kind of hoping for a more active approach, it could be that coaching would be a much more helpful strategy for that client. Or if coaching is not part of your practice, that might be a referral to a therapist who does practice coaching, because what that client might be telling you is that they want a more active, empowered approach where they're going to be held accountable. There's going to be goals. We're going to be like having homework that carries over from day to day, and that also you're going to be a process consultant, never telling people what to do, never making major life decisions for people. But part of the role of a coach is to say, you might get better results if you consider doing XYZ. Is this a skill you would be interested in developing? If so, we can actualize that. And then I'm going to ask you if you've done it or not when you come back into the next session. That's what coaching involves. And there are people who really want that experience. Okay, I have more resources for you. If you come to my website, growingself.com/therapists, you can access different podcasts and articles that I have on the subject of coaching versus therapy, what therapists need to know about coaching, and also a brand new totally free 2-part training that I put together for therapists to, get some clarity around their career path, figure out what kind of therapist they want to be, and whether or not developing professionally towards coaching competencies might be something that could be really useful for you to make you either more effective as a therapist with high functioning, growth oriented clients. So anyway, growingself.com/therapists if you want to take advantage of all those free resources. But in closing, while you should be talking about how you work and what people can expect from the experience of you right at the very beginning, if you experience in the moment a client being like, so what do you think I should do, is just to be more transparent than I think we're trained. What are we trained to do is to say, I don't know, what do you think you should do? Without really going into the why, but maybe add a little bit more to that. As your therapist, I would never want you to substitute my judgment or my opinions for your own. My role in your life is to help you discover what's best for you. And so what I'm going to do is help you find the answer to that question. And let's do this. Let's unpack it. Let me ask you some more questions, and I bet we'll get down to your truth. To come back with that, so you're setting that boundary, but you're also giving the client some understanding of, okay, here's how this works. They're not going to tell me what to do, but they're going to work with me to help me find my own answers. This is the kind of approach that will empower your clients to take ownership of their own decisions, which hopefully will feel validating for them and confidence building for them, particularly if they understand that the challenge that has been put back on them by you as a therapist is to take ownership for the trajectory of their own life. And that in itself can be a very cool experiential intervention if we're talking about it openly. Because if we're not talking about it openly, they might just get frustrated with us or say to themselves, I don't think this is working for me. So we went over a number of scenarios why your clients may experience you as being a little bit weird and how to address them proactively. Certainly, there are many more aspects of this that we didn't cover. But let's end with something that is also really important, because there can be so many subtle things that can happen in the space between ourselves and our clients that can create ruptures that we don't recognize. Maybe we are saying things or doing things that seem, and probably are, quite appropriate for us, given our background and our understanding of the situation and what it is that we're trying to do. But because we are professional therapists, we may have lost touch with how some of those things are received by our. And so the fact is that even with the best intentions and with a lot of transparency, there may also be times when a client feels hurt or confused by something that you've done or said or haven't done or haven't said, and that these moments can lead to ruptures in the therapeutic or coaching relationship if you don't address them. So the best practice here is to be sensitive, to use your intuition, notice if things seem a little bit off relationally, and also be paying attention to your client's cues. If they seem distant, defensive, unusually quiet, or not wanting to go into vulnerable places with you, it might be worth exploring whether something shifted between you or whether something in the therapeutic process or in your relationship was creating discomfort. I mean, even a very gentle, open-ended question like, I noticed you seemed a little distant today, and I'm wondering if we could talk about that. Specifically, how are things feeling between me and you these days? Is everything okay between us? That kind of request for open-ended feedback can open very important doors that need to be opened. We are responsible for pointing out the elephants in the room, and our courage invites our clients to share what's on their mind in courageous ways that will help you address any potential ruptures and repair their relationship, but is also teaching your clients and modeling for them how it's done and giving them opportunities to actively repair a relationship in a healthy and constructive way that may actually be new for them, and a very important part of their growth process is doing this with you so that they can do it with other people in their lives. At the end of the day, our clients' perceptions of us and perceptions of the therapy or coaching process are just as important as anything we know or the techniques we use or the interventions we use or how we're conducting therapy or coaching. It's really all about the relationship. And so by us having self-awareness around and talking openly about the things that we do that might seem weird to people who aren't therapists and why we do them can go a long way in strengthening your relationship with your clients, preventing misunderstandings, and also just creating an emotionally safe space where your clients feel truly not just heard and understood and supported, but really connected to you, empowered, respected, and like you're kind of letting them behind the curtain, the mystery of how this all works. So they feel like more of an active participant in the process rather than, kind of a passive participant in something that you are controlling. They need to be let into the why. I hope that this recap today was helpful for you and that gave you a little bit of fresh insight, a new perspective on why therapists are weirdos and what we can do to prevent that from causing problems with our clients. And if you have follow-up questions for me on this topic, related topics, other topics related to the profession that we share of being a therapist, being a coach, the things that we're dealing with, grappling with, our own professional or even personal development needs, I would love to connect with you and hear all about it. You can come to growingself.com, obviously, get in touch with me directly there, connect with me on LinkedIn, connect with me on the socials, but primarily LinkedIn is where I'm posting these things and talking about it, just because I'd love to hear what's on your mind. I'm making these podcasts, these videos out of a sincere effort to help professionals that I care a lot about, fellow therapists like you who are out there in the trenches every day doing incredibly hard work many times with a lot of courage, a lot of heart. And in my experience, many times therapists are not getting the care and the support, the visibility that you need and that you deserve in order to feel like you're getting your cup filled, you're getting taken care of, you're getting guidance and mentorship and community and an opportunity to is this happening? Yes, it is. We all need that. We can't do this alone. And so this is what my contribution is to this conversation. And again, I want it to be a conversation. So I would love to connect with you. Track me down. Let's talk more about you on the next episode of Love, Happiness, and Success for Therapists, because your work is important, but also you are important. And that's why I'm here. So I am here for you. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time.